Hello, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. This video contains content relating to childhood bullying, physical abuse. If these are subjects you don't feel you can listen to, I understand. I hope you return next week for a special video I hope you'll enjoy. I have to apologize if you hear a ticking in the background. The temperature's changing. I have radiator heaters and they're clicking on and off because it can't decide if it's warm enough to actually turn on or not. In the last year, I've had this little trope I've put in every video. It's kind of been a joke of mine to have Geordi LaForge somewhere. He's usually there either in a slide by himself or in the background of the necessary slide. But there's actually a reason why I do it. I mentioned in my very bad first video that Geordi LaForge was a very big part of my childhood. I mentioned recently that when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily feel safe when I left the home. I was bullied for my learning disability. I was bullied for being one of the bigger kids in class. I was bullied later on for my perceived sexuality and what everybody thought that would mean about me. But on the weekends, when I watched Star Trek, I got to watch a show where people were valued for what they could contribute. Geordi wasn't pitied. I never once saw a moment where people felt sorry for him. There were times when people were concerned about him. In the episode where Tasha is killed and his visor is taken away from him, you see people worried about his welfare because they're with an individual who would gladly hurt one of them and even did kill one of them. And Data does all he can do to respectfully help him. I even used a moment in that episode when Data hands Geordi his visor. Even in that moment, he doesn't have pity. That may seem like a given. Of course, it's Star Trek. He's one of the crew. Why would they feel sorry for him? But you have to understand, I was diagnosed in the 80s. In fact, I was diagnosed as dyslexic in 1986 during my first grade year. I managed to get through the entire year tricking my parents into thinking I was learning to read, while the teacher knew for a fact I wasn't. My mom pulled strings and got me tested and found out. That next year, in 1987, I started the second grade in a new school, and I went to the LD program. The way things were done, I went to a regular class for things like science and math and history, what we called social studies, and then went to another classroom for reading, spelling, and eventually math when they realized I wasn't exactly learning, and I have difficulty reading numbers as well. The system meant that I was around neurotypical children, what we would have called normal at the time, and they didn't really want me there. I was socially awkward and didn't always interact well. I actually hid during recess most of the time to avoid having to deal with them. But on the weekend, I got to watch Star Trek, and I got to see a person with a disability who was valued for what he could do, and that was something I needed to see. He used the tools necessary to be able to function, and because of that he could do things other people couldn't. And that shaped how I saw what it meant for me to be dyslexic. In fact, a lot of the tools I use today were originally created for the visually impaired. The service I use to enjoy the books I love is called Learning Ally now, but it was originally called Recordings for the Blind and Disabled, something I strongly recommend. What they do is so important. I had every resource I could. As more was understood, more things were opened up to me. I had extended time, and I had my tests read to me. However, I wanted to go to college, and at the time, kids like me didn't go to college. When we did, it was rare. We weren't that severe. Being singled out that way, you might imagine, didn't exactly go over well with the general population. Schools didn't always like me because I wanted to take classes they didn't want me to take. Students resented me in their class with them because I took up a space that could have been there for a normal child. I left the class for tests, which singled me out. And if you want to see a really interesting mind game you can play on a kid, make them afraid of failing a test because it'll prove they're too stupid for the class, and then make them afraid of doing too well because people will try to say they didn't actually need the help they needed. The notion that I was actually intelligent and actually could do the work, my parents didn't question that, but the schools did. The students sure did. But again, this is supposed to be about Geordi. Except this is about Geordi, what I'm talking about. Why did he mean so much to me? Why do I wish every day that I could thank LaVar Burton for playing him? Because I could at least pretend that there was a place where I wouldn't be the freak. Where somebody who wasn't that different from me was as good as everybody else, who was important for what he could do. Geordi could see the world in a way nobody else could, and that mattered. Thank you for watching. If you like this subject, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas on this subject, please share in the comments below. Again, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. I think I forgot a very important member of my crew. Yeah, how could I forget Ensign Bradbury? Yeah, I know. That was just unthinkable of me. This video is nothing without my ensign. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, you usually don't get this part because I've already gotten him up here. Speak? It's hard to tell him to speak when he speaks as soon as he sees the treat. All right, you get it. Yeah.